When speaking about PLCs, you cannot get away without referring to the IEC 61131 Part 3 standard. This specifically goes around PLCs, and I'd like to delve into the topic for a few minutes. PLCs became very popular a couple of decades ago, and so it was that there were many different manufacturers who entered the market, and at the same time there were many different languages that were created. If one has a look at the PLC languages, you're going to find that they can be divided into graphical as well as text-based languages. And that is exactly what you can see on the screen. Now, believe it or not, the most popular PLC programming languages are going to be the graphical languages, those that look like blocks and boxes and images and contacts, by far more popular than the text-based languages. But there's always going to be a place for the text-based languages, especially if you're doing some scientific calculations or if you're trying to do some type of manipulation. And then it's always great to go and make use of formulas to do this for you. Now let's get back to the graphical programs and see how they can be expanded. The very first of the graphical languages would be ladder logic. This is the very first of the programs that was used for many years, and for some PLC manufacturers, the only program that they are going to make use of. It was very much based on electrical diagrams that would have been produced for equipment out in the field. And the whole idea was to take those diagrams and convert them as easily as possible to a ladder logic circuit. The second of our graphical languages would be FBD, function block diagram. Actually, this is a fantastic program to work with. Everything is divided down into blocks, and you literally need to go and grab a block and drag it in, and you can do with it what you want to. If you'd like to have a 2-input AND gate or a 3-input OR gate, or if you'd like to have an adding block, it doesn't make a difference. You go grab the block, you drag it in, and it's very easy to go and write the program after that. The last of the graphical languages would be SFC, also known as sequential function chart. This was the last of the graphical programming techniques to be designed, and in the beginning it was considered quite a difficult language to work with, but over the years it has become a lot easier, and in many cases it is the go-to language, especially if you're dealing with something such as a sequential control, where you have a number of events that have to take place one after the other. And now we get to our text-based language. No prizes for guessing that we're not going to have any images in these programming techniques. They purely are going to consist out of words and letters which will be grouped to achieve the results you would like to achieve. There are two languages that are covered under the text-based programs of the IEC 61131 Part 3. So first up of the text-based languages is going to be instruction list, often abbreviated as IL. This is a programming language which is very fast, but is very much based on a language such as assembler. It is a very simple language as far as instructions are concerned, and because of that, it can work quite rapidly. Not very popular in the modern world, and we are seeing less and less of its usage. For example, Allen Bradley with their newer PLCs don't even give you the option. Well, the last time I looked, they didn't even give you the option of programming in instruction list. And then the very last of my text-based languages covered in the standard is going to be structured text, often abbreviated as ST. Now, this really would be the Rolls-Royce of the text-based programming languages. Very popular with people in the sense that it is a high-level language. Yes, it is slower than instruction list, but it does give you a lot more capability. And for those of you who are familiar in programming in things such as Pascal and Visual Basic, this might just ring a bell for you. So it's a lovely language that we can use, especially when we're trying to calculate some complex figures. And that completes our discussion on the IEC 61131 Part 3 standard, which is specifically put together for remote terminal units such as PLCs.